Imagine discovering that the person you trusted most, your husband, and the friend you loved like a sister, have been betraying you in the most unimaginable way. That's exactly what happens to Grace Cole when a routine fraud alert leads her to a hotel room and a shocking secret she could never prepare for. But her nightmare is only the beginning, as hidden dangers, deadly enemies, and a web of lies force her to fight not just for the truth, but for her life. Watch as Grace navigates betrayal, danger, and empowerment in this suspenseful story, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to follow every twist of her journey. My husband, Ethan. But Ethan was supposed to be in Austin at a business retreat. He'd left early that morning with a quick kiss on my cheek and his suitcase rolling behind him. Did he check in alone? I asked, my voice tightening at the edges. Another pause.
No, ma'am.
A woman checked in with him. The sentence cracked something inside me. Not dramatically, not a thunderous shatter. It was more like the soft, slow break of thin glass under pressure. A quiet, devastating sound no one hears until it's too late. I'll come there, I said, grabbing my keys with trembling hands. I barely remembered locking the door behind me. The apartment hallway felt longer than usual, as if time stretched itself to delay the truth. My heart thudded against my ribs with each step I took toward the elevator. When I reached my car, I hesitated for the first time, not because I doubted what I had heard, but because some tiny part of me hoped there was an explanation.
A mistake.
A coincidence. Something that wouldn't tear open my marriage. I rested my hands on the steering wheel, closing my eyes for a moment. Please don't let it be him. Don't let it be her. Though I didn't even know who her was yet. The drive to the hotel took 12 minutes, but each second felt stretched thin. Houston's buildings rose around me, shimmering in the heat, giant glass towers reflecting sunlight like mirrors that refused to look away. I wasn't crying. Not yet. But I wasn't breathing right either. When I pulled into the Sterling Palms parking lot, everything looked too calm, too elegant, too normal for the chaos tightening in my chest. Inside the lobby, a soft lavender scent filled the air. The marble floors sparkled. People smiled. Couples held hands. A pair of newlyweds laughed as they dragged luggage toward the elevator. And I, Grace Cole, stood in the middle of all that beauty feeling like someone had cracked my ribs open and scooped out the air inside. The receptionist recognized me immediately. Miss Cole. Room 708. I didn't ask how he knew. I didn't want to hear the details. May I have a key? I asked, my voice flat with focused pain. He slid it forward. Do you want security?
No.
I didn't want witnesses to the moment my life changed. The elevator felt like a metal coffin. The mirrored walls made it impossible not to look at myself. Hair in a neat bun, blouse sprinkled with flour from earlier baking tests, eyes too bright with something I didn't want to name. When the doors opened, the 7th floor hallway was quiet. Lamps cast warm, gold light across the carpet. Everything looked serene. Room 708 was at the far end. I walked toward it like someone floating outside their own body. The key card shook between my fingers when I lifted it to the lock. One swipe, one quiet click, one push. The door cracked open. My life cracked with it. Inside, Ethan stood beside the bed, shirt unbuttoned, hair messy in a way that wasn't accidental. He turned at the sound of the door, his face draining of color. Grace. But the real blow came a second later. The woman sitting on the edge of the bed, back turned to me, turned slowly, slow enough to make my knees weaken. It was Mara, my best friend since I was 17. My ride or die. The woman who held my hair when I threw up from stress. The woman who picked the song for the first dance at my wedding. The woman I trusted with every fear, I never spoke aloud. She froze when our eyes met. Her blouse was half-buttoned. Her lipstick was smudged. Her guilt was instant and unmistakable. My breath vanished. "Mara," I whispered. Her eyes filled with pity. No, guilt. "Grace, this isn't." My voice cracked into something raw. "Ethan, what is this?" He stepped forward. "I can explain." "Explain why you checked into a hotel with my best friend using my name?"
His jaw tightened.
"We didn't mean." "Don't you dare say you didn't mean to hurt me," I snapped. Hurting me was the inevitable outcome of this. Mara stood slowly. "Grace, please. Let me talk to you. Just us. Please." "No," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "You don't get privacy with me after sneaking around with my husband." She flinched. I turned to Ethan. "How long?" Silence. Then Mara whispered, 3 months. The world tilted. Rooms have fallen quieter than I did in that moment. 3 months. 3 months of smiles. 3 months of secrets. 3 months of lying each time she hugged me. I held onto the edge of the dresser, fingers digging into the wood. "You used my name," I said softly. "For the reservation?"
For the room.
Ethan swallowed. I didn't want the charge to raise questions. A laugh burst out of me. Sharp, broken. "So, you protected your affair with my name." "Grace, don't talk." My voice trembled with fury I'd never felt before. "You have done enough." Mara sobbed quietly. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking." "You knew exactly what you were thinking," I said. "You were thinking about yourself." She covered her mouth. "You're my best friend." "Not anymore," I whispered. "You ended that the second you walked into this room." The pain that hit her face didn't touch me. Not then. Not anymore. Ethan stepped forward. "Grace, we can fix this." "No," I said. "You and Mara can fix whatever this is. But I'm done." "Don't leave," he begged. "I'm not leaving," I said, stepping past him. "I'm walking toward something better." I opened the door. Neither of them followed. When I reached the hallway, the air felt clearer, not easier, not lighter, but cleaner, like walking out of smoke into sunlight. I descended the stairs, gripping the rail so tightly my knuckles burned. Each step down felt like shedding a version of myself that had been betrayed. Outside, the Houston heat hit me, but it felt almost like comfort. I got into my car, locked the doors, and exhaled a shaky breath. Then the first tear slid down. Then the second. Then a whole flood. But by the time I got home, I felt calmer, not healed, not whole, but steady. My ring felt heavy on my finger, so I took it off, placed it on the kitchen counter, and stood there quietly as the sun shifted through the window blinds. This was the end of something, but maybe the beginning of something else. Something mine. I didn't even feel myself breathe as I stepped farther into the room. My hand slid across the wallpaper to steady myself, but my palm was numb, almost disconnected from my body. There was this strange ringing in my ears, like someone had struck a tuning fork inside my skull. "Grace, wait, wait," Ethan stuttered, stumbling off the bed and nearly tripping over his pants. "It's not what it looks like." Of all the useless sentences a cheating husband could ever say, he chose the one that made my stomach twist. Not what it looks like. My voice came out too calm, too soft, too terrifying. "How many meanings does the scene have, Ethan? Enlighten me." He opened and closed his mouth like a fish gasping for water. But she, my childhood best friend, didn't even try to hide. She just wrapped a hotel sheet around herself, lifted her chin, and stared at me with a mixture of guilt and defiance. A twisted blend I didn't know she was capable of. Grace, her voice cracked. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I laughed. Not a sane laugh. Not a real laugh. Just one sharp, broken exhale that sliced my throat as it came out. Find out how, Harper? Through a spa day invitation? A friendship bracelet? Maybe matching pajamas for the two of you. She flinched, and for a moment, I felt nothing. I just watched her and him scramble, watched their faces morph through panic and shame and fear, and I wondered how long this betrayal had been living in the shadows while I was busy trusting them. He took a step toward me. Grace, please. Let's talk outside. I stepped back like his breath was poison. Don't come near me. He froze. Harper pulled the sheet tighter around her like she was the victim here, not the architect of this small, carefully engineered hell I walked into. My phone buzzed in my hand, the fraud alert still open, a reminder of the universe's cruel sense of humor. This wasn't a stolen identity. This was a stolen marriage, a stolen friendship, a stolen life. How long? I asked. No emotion. No trembling, just a question that felt like a razor blade sliding down a throat. Ethan swallowed hard. Grace, don't.
How long?
His voice was barely audible. 6 months. My fingers twitched. 6 months. Half a year. Half a year of lies. Half a year I spent loving him, defending him, trusting him. Half a year Harper hugged me, bought me coffee, listened to me talk about my marriage while she was sleeping with the man inside it. I turned my eyes to her. You let me cry in your car, I whispered. You held my hand when Ethan and I had that stupid fight about my new job. You told me I deserved better. And all that time you were doing this. Grace, I messed up, she said quickly, words tumbling over each other. I didn't plan for it to happen. One night he was upset and we were talking and… You don't accidentally fall into a hotel room 6 months in a row? I snapped. Ethan looked at me, helpless. Grace, I made a mistake. A mistake? I stepped forward. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is misplacing your keys. I pointed at Harper. Sleeping with my best friend isn't a mistake. It's a choice. And you made it again and again. He dragged his hand down his face, shaking. I wasn't happy, okay? We were fighting. You were distant. My heart went cold. So you cheated because I was busy building a better life for us. His silence was answer enough. Harper whispered, Grace, please, please don't hate me. I stared at her, really stared. This girl who grew up with me, who slept over at my house more times than I could count, who cried on my shoulder when her parents divorced, who held my bouquet at my wedding, who told me Ethan was a good one, who promised she'd always protect me.
And she was the one who stabbed deepest.
I didn't cry. Not yet. The tears were trapped somewhere under the shock and the humiliation and the slow, rising rage that tasted metallic. If I cried now, they would think they broke me.
So I didn't give them that.
I turned toward the door. Grace. Ethan moved toward me. Where are you going? Away from whatever this is. Please, he begged. Let's talk. Not like this. Please don't walk out. I didn't even look at him. If you wanted me to stay, I said quietly, you should have remembered that before you checked into a hotel under my name. And then I walked out. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just steady. Harper called my name once, a small, pathetic sound, but I didn't turn around. The hallway felt colder than the room. The lights seemed too bright. My legs trembled under me, but I kept moving. Down the hall. Into the elevator. Pressing a lobby button with a hand that wasn't steady anymore. As the doors closed, something inside me cracked. Not loud, not violent, just a quiet, devastating fracture. And the tears finally, silently fell.
But I didn't sob.
I didn't crumble. I cried like a woman who knew something bigger than heartbreak was coming. Something darker. Something that smelled like danger, not betrayal. And even though I didn't know it yet, the night wasn't finished with me. Not even close. The hotel lobby blurred around me as I walked out onto the sidewalk. The warm Houston night hit my face, humid and heavy, but I barely felt it. My chest was tightening in that slow, suffocating way where your body realizes the truth before your mind is ready to accept it. I leaned against a street lamp, inhaling air that didn't seem to reach my lungs. 6 months. My best friend. My husband. A hotel room booked under my name like some sick joke. The betrayal wasn't even what hurt most. It was the humiliation. The public exposure. The way the universe had dragged me there like I needed to witness every last detail to believe it.
My phone buzzed again.
Another fraud alert message, this one asking if I wanted to freeze my accounts for suspicious activity. Suspicious activity. I let out a hollow laugh.
Yeah.
That was one way to label my entire marriage. I wiped my face with the back of my hand, trying to breathe normally as people walked past, glancing at me in concern. A woman crying outside a hotel wasn't exactly a rare sight in this city, but it still earned a few sympathetic looks. I didn't want sympathy. I wanted answers. I wanted to understand how something this big had been happening right under my nose. And yet there was a part of me that didn't want answers at all. Because the answers might shatter whatever thin pieces of hope I had left for my life making sense. My phone rang.
Ethan.
I stared at his name on the screen until it faded to missed call. Seconds later, another incoming call flashed. Harper. Neither got an answer. I wasn't ready to hear lies wrapped in panic. So I walked. Long enough for my legs to ache. Long enough for the adrenaline to fade and the pain to settle into my bones. Cars rushed past, headlights slicing the night. Music thumped from a bar on the corner. Houston felt too alive, too loud for the emptiness inside me. I turned down a side street and ended up on a bench near an all-night cafe. My fingers shook as I pulled out my phone and scrolled aimlessly, pretending I was fine, pretending my world hadn't just detonated. I kept replaying their faces. Harper's guilt. Ethan's panic. Their half-dressed bodies scrambling like cockroaches exposed to daylight. I could feel anger rising now, hot and sharp, pushing against the grief. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't weak. And I wasn't a woman who would be destroyed quietly. But before I could decide what to do next, I noticed something strange. A man across the street, standing beside a parked car, staring at me, not casually, not accidentally, but with full attention, like he had been waiting for me to notice him. My pulse flickered. Houston wasn't the safest city at night. I knew that, but this felt different. His posture was too stiff. His eyes locked directly onto mine. At first, I thought he was just a random creep. Then he lifted his phone and pointed it at me. The flash didn't go off. He wasn't taking a picture. He was checking something, comparing something. My blood went cold. He lowered the phone slightly, tilted his head, and then he nodded. He nodded like he'd just confirmed exactly who I was. I stood up slowly, my heart thumping hard in my chest. My throat tightened. I took a step back, then another. He didn't move at first. He just watched. Then he pocketed his phone and crossed the street. Not running, walking, purposeful, controlled, as if he knew I wouldn't get far. Fear hit me so fast my vision blurred. I spun around and hurried down the sidewalk toward the cafe entrance, my breath coming out in quick, shallow bursts. Behind me, I heard footsteps. I didn't look back. I pushed through the cafe doors, the bell chiming loudly as warm air and the smell of coffee washed over me. A barista glanced up from the counter. "You okay, ma'am?" I nodded too quickly. "Bathroom," I whispered, my voice cracking. I walked fast, practically stumbling into the restroom and locking the door behind me. My back pressed against the wood. My breath struggled to steady. My hands shook uncontrollably. I splashed cold water on my face and looked at myself in the mirror. I expected to see heartbreak, but instead I saw fear. Real fear. And something else. Something that had nothing to do with Ethan or Harper. Something I didn't understand yet. My phone buzzed again. Another missed call from Ethan. Another message from Harper. Then, a text from an unknown number. 4 words. "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. Another message came instantly after. "Before he finds you." The phone slipped a little in my hand as I stared at the screen.
He?
Who the hell was he? And why did someone think I was in danger tonight of all nights? The betrayal wasn't the whole story. It was only the beginning. I stared at the message so long my vision blurred again. My throat tightened, and for a moment I couldn't tell whether it was panic, exhaustion, or the kind of dread that worked its way up from your stomach and settled behind your ribs like a stone. Before he finds you. Who the hell was he supposed to be?
Ethan? No.
Ethan wasn't dangerous. Selfish, a liar, a coward, yes. But dangerous?
No.
He could barely argue without apologizing 5 minutes later. He wasn't the type to find anyone. He was the type to send long paragraphs with the phrase, "I didn't mean to hurt you." My hands trembled so badly, I had to grip the sink edge to ground myself. I typed back, "Who is this?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Then, someone trying to stop something before it gets worse. I swallowed hard, every part of me buzzing with unease. My mind raced through every possibility. A scam? A prank? A wrong number? But the timing. The man outside staring at me. The way he'd walked with purpose. The way the message arrived seconds after I locked myself inside the restroom. This wasn't a coincidence. Another message popped up. "Leave now. Through the back exit. Don't go outside the front door." I froze. Because that meant one thing. Someone was out there. Waiting. I moved toward the restroom door, pressing my ear to it, listening. Just the muffled clatter of cups, low conversations, the hiss of the espresso machine. Nothing unusual. Nothing alarming. But the normalcy made it even worse. Danger hiding in plain sight always does. I looked at myself in the mirror again. Wet cheeks, red eyes, mascara smudged in streaks I hadn't even noticed forming. I'd walked into that hotel room expecting to find identity theft. Instead, I found betrayal. Now I was walking into something else entirely. Fear layered on top of heartbreak, confusion twisting into something darker. I typed again. "Who's out there?" A pause. Then, "Not someone you want to meet." I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to steady the pounding. I didn't want to trust an unknown number, but I also didn't want to walk out the front door and bump into the man who had been watching me. I had to think, had to breathe. But my mind kept replaying the image of him holding his phone up to compare my face to something, maybe a photo, before he nodded, like checking off a target. The barista knocked on the restroom door. "Ma'am, everything okay?" I flinched so hard it hurt. "Yes," I managed. "I'll be out in a second." His footsteps retreated. I opened my messages again, fingers shaking. "Why are you helping me?" I sent. This time the response came instantly, as if the person had been waiting for me to ask. "Because you're not the one they want. They just think you are." My stomach twisted. They. Plural. More than one person out there. More than one watching me. More than one looking for someone who they believed was me. I typed again, my pulse hammering. What do they want with me? A full 30 seconds passed. The longest 30 seconds of my life. Then, it's not about you. It's about your husband. I stared at the words, trying to understand.
Ethan.
My brain rejected the idea immediately. He wasn't important. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't involved in anything remotely shady. He was a financial advisor who cried during dog movies and didn't know how to fix a clogged sink. What could anyone possibly want with him? As if the person on the other end could read my disbelief, another message appeared. He's not who you think he is. I shook my head.
No.
No way. Ethan was many things, disloyal, weak, cowardly, but dangerous? A threat? Someone strangers would hunt down? It didn't make sense. Unless the betrayal I walked in on wasn't the only secret he'd been keeping. My phone vibrated again. Grace, this is serious. You need to leave now. My breath caught. Go out the back exit. Don't talk to anyone. Don't call your husband. Don't go home. I felt the floor shift beneath me, like reality was slipping. Don't go home. Why not? Was someone there? Or was someone going there? I typed slowly. Where do I go? The reply came faster than all the others. Somewhere safe. I'll tell you where once you're moving. My fingers hovered over the screen. I didn't trust this unknown sender. I didn't trust anyone right now. But I trusted the terror building in my chest. I trusted the instinct screaming that something was wrong. That tonight was bigger, darker, more dangerous than a cheating husband. Someone knocked on the restroom door again. Softer this time. But this knock didn't sound like the barista. I backed away from the door, breath caught in my throat. Then I saw it. A shadow moving under the door frame. Someone was standing there, waiting. The shadow shifted, blocking more of the light. My phone buzzed again. They're inside. Back exit. Now. I didn't think. I acted. I unlocked the door as quietly as possible, avoiding the shadow, slipping it open just enough to see that the hall beyond was empty except for a few diners. Then I stepped out, keeping my head low, heart hammering wildly. I walked fast, turned left, past the kitchen, past the employees-only sign, toward the glowing red exit. Each step felt stolen, fragile, wavering, like the night was holding its breath with me. I reached the door, pushed it open. Warm air hit me again, but this time it felt like freedom, or the calm before something even worse. The door swung shut behind me. My phone vibrated in my hand.
Good.
Keep walking. Don't look back. So I didn't. I walked into the dark Houston alley with nothing but my phone, my fear, and a betrayal behind me that suddenly felt small compared to whatever waited ahead. The alley behind the cafe smelled like damp concrete and old grease, but I didn't care. The night wrapped around me like something alive, thick, restless, humming with danger. My footsteps echoed unevenly as I moved deeper into the shadows, clutching my phone like it was the only solid thing in my world. I didn't look back. Not yet. Not until I felt far enough that if someone burst through that exit door, I'd have at least a few steps advantage. My phone buzzed again. Good. Keep going straight. I obeyed. My heartbeat was so loud it drowned out the distant city noise. The alley opened onto a narrow side street lined with dumpsters and flickering lights. A stray cat darted across the road, making me jump violently. I typed quickly, "Are you watching me?" The reply came instantly.
Yes.
But I'm not the only one. Cold fear slid through me. I scanned the rooftops, the corners, the parked cars. Nothing. Just the vague sensation I wasn't alone anymore, that the night had eyes. I typed again, hands shaking. Who are you? This time the pause was longer.
Then,
Someone who made a promise to protect you, even if you don't remember me. I stumbled a little, my breath catching. Don't remember me?
what kind of person said that?
Someone from my past? Someone I crossed paths with once? Someone Ethan knew? Someone from work? I kept walking, trying to breathe evenly, trying to keep my mind from exploding with questions I wasn't ready to answer. The phone buzzed again, left at the corner. I reached the end of the alley and turned left into another dim street. Quiet, no cars, no people. And that's when I heard it. A car door closing softly. Then another. My heart thudded, so hard it felt like it punched my ribs from the inside. I didn't run. Not yet. Running drew attention. Running meant panic, and panic made people stupid. I quickened my pace. The phone buzzed. Don't run. Not unless I tell you. That almost sent tears to my eyes. All of this happening at once. All the fear. All the betrayal. All the confusion piling on top of each other until I could barely breathe. I swallowed hard and forced myself forward. Halfway down the street, a dark SUV slowly rolled out from behind a building. Its headlights stayed off, but its engine rumbled low. Too low for a normal driver. Those engines were meant for surveillance. Or intimidation. Or both. My breath stuttered. I typed fast. Someone is following me. The reply came before I'd even put my phone down. I know. Keep walking. Don't look at them. I did exactly that. My legs moved on autopilot, my mind running in circles. How had my night turned from heartbreak to something out of a nightmare? I felt the SUV creeping behind me, slow, deliberate. Goosebumps prickled up my arms. I tightened my grip on my bag, my nails digging into my palm. Then the man from earlier, the one who'd been staring at me across the street, stepped out from between two parked cars ahead. He blocked the sidewalk completely. He wasn't pretending anymore. He wasn't hiding the intent in his posture. His eyes were locked on me, dark and focused. I froze.
Completely.
My feet wouldn't move. My breath wouldn't come. He took one step toward me, then another. My phone buzzed again. Grace, listen to me. But I couldn't move. My muscles were stiff with fear. The man raised a hand slightly, not waving, not threatening, just acknowledging, confirming, approaching, step by step, closer. The SUV behind me crept forward, boxing me in. My phone buzzed again, more urgent this time.
Now.
Run. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I ran. My feet slammed against the pavement as I sprinted down the street, turning at the first corner, my breath ripping through my chest. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The air around me crackled with danger, with footsteps, with the unmistakable sound of someone giving chase. My lungs burned. My throat was raw. But I kept running. My phone buzzed in my hand.
Right.
Now. I obeyed instantly, darting right into an even narrower alley. Trash cans. Fire escapes. A brick wall with graffiti. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm as I kept going. Behind me, footsteps echoed.
Fast.
Determined. Getting closer. I pushed myself harder. Every muscle screamed. My vision blurred from sweat and tears and fear. Another message. Straight. Don't stop. I ran until I felt like I might collapse. My shoes skidded on loose gravel. I nearly tripped, caught myself, kept going. Suddenly, a door on my left yanked open. A hand grabbed my wrist. Inside, a voice whispered sharply. Not threatening. Urgent. I didn't think. I let them pull me in. The door slammed shut, and darkness swallowed us. I pressed my back to the cold metal, gasping, trembling, sweat dripping down my temples. Footsteps thundered past the alley outside.
Shouts.
Then silence. Pitch-black silence. Slowly, as my eyes adjusted, I turned toward the shadow in front of me. My voice trembled. "Who are you?" The figure stepped closer, still hidden in the half-dark. Then a low, steady voice answered. "Someone who knows the truth about your husband, and why he set you up tonight." My stomach dropped so hard it felt like the ground vanished beneath me. I whispered, barely audible, "Set me up for what?" The shadow shifted, and the voice said, "For the people trying to kill him." For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. The room was dark, too dark to make out anything except the faint outline of the figure who had pulled me inside. My pulse hammered in my ears as their last words echoed over and over. People trying to kill him.
Ethan.
The same Ethan who color-coded his sock drawer. The same Ethan who once cried because a stray dog limped across the street. The same Ethan who cheated on me 2 hours ago with my best friend. My mind tried to reconcile that man with this.
It didn't fit.
It didn't make sense. Nothing about this night made sense. I swallowed hard, my voice barely coming out. "What do you mean, kill him? Why would anyone?" The figure raised a hand. "Keep your voice down." It wasn't a request. It was firm, controlled, practiced. This was someone used to danger. My back hit the door when I tried to step away, the metal cold against my spine. "Please," I whispered. "I need answers." A soft click echoed as the person flicked on a dim flashlight. Not enough to illuminate the room, just enough to cast a muted glow on the lower half of their face.
A man.
30-something. Strong jaw. Sharp eyes. Not unkind, but alert, calculating, taking in every movement I made. "Your Grace Cole," he said quietly. My throat tightened. "How do you know my name?" "Because I've been watching you for the last 2 hours." My heart stopped. He must have seen the terror on my face, because he added quickly, "Not in the way you think. I wasn't after you. I was trying to get to you before they did." "Who are they?" I breathed. He paused for a moment, as if deciding how much to tell me. Then, "The people your husband stole from." My stomach flipped. "Stole?
Ethan?
He wouldn't." "Yes," the man said. Not harshly, but with certainty. "He did." I shook my head. "You don't understand him. He's a financial advisor," he finished for me.
Exactly.
"And that's how he got involved." He stepped back, leaning against a metal table, the flashlight casting long shadows up the wall. "Ethan didn't just cheat on you.
He didn't just lie to you.
He built an entire secret life behind your back. And part of that included laundering money for a group he never should have touched." My pulse roared in my ears. Laundering. Secret life. My mind rejected it instinctively until one memory surfaced. Then another. Then another. Little things I'd ignored. Late nights he couldn't explain. Sudden money he brushed off as bonuses. Trips he claimed were trainings. Calls he took behind closed doors. Times he'd come home looking pale and rattled for no obvious reason. I'd chalked it all up to stress. To work. To marriage. I hadn't known I was chalking over rot. The man watched my expression change and nodded slightly, like he'd seen this moment before in others. The people he was involved with found out he'd been siphoning off their money. Not a lot, but enough to piss off the wrong men. I felt cold. All over. Even my lungs. "What does this have to do with me?" I asked, my voice hoarse. "Why are they following me?" He exhaled slowly. "Because Ethan used your identity in the paperwork." My breath caught. "He put everything under your name, transactions, accounts, authorizations." If this blew up, you'd take the fall. I felt the room tilt. My knees weakened. No, I whispered.
No.
He wouldn't, he couldn't. He did. The man said it with the quiet heaviness of someone who had no reason to lie. Tears burned my eyes. Not for Ethan. Not for Harper.
No. For me.
Because the betrayal was so much bigger than a hotel room. Bigger than a best friend's body tangled with my husband's. Bigger than heartbreak. This was identity theft. This was framing. This was survival for him and destruction for me. Why use my name? I asked weakly. Because you're clean, he said. No criminal record. No debts. No red flags. You're the perfect shield. And because he assumed you'd never find out. I covered my mouth with my hand, shaking. He watched me with something almost like sympathy in his eyes. Tonight, he continued, they thought you were the one they were supposed to grab. They think you're the partner, the one who helped him hide the money. And if they get their hands on you, Grace, he didn't finish. He didn't have to. My blood went ice cold. Why was he with Harper at the hotel? I whispered. The man's jaw clenched. Because meeting her there made it look like he was alone. Not with you. And if something went wrong, no one would be able to prove you weren't involved. I felt sick. Harper, my childhood best friend. My sister in every way except blood. She wasn't just betraying me emotionally.
She was part of this.
Part of covering Ethan's tracks. I squeezed my arms around myself, shaking so hard I could barely stand. What do I do now? I whispered. The man stepped closer, his voice dropping even lower. First, you stay with me. My breath hitched. Second, you learn the truth before this entire situation burns you alive. I swallowed hard, my voice trembling. What truth? He raised the flashlight, illuminating his face fully for the first time. And in that moment, my world cracked open again. Because I recognized him. Not by name, not by voice, but by memory. A memory I thought I'd imagined. A memory I'd buried, so deep it felt like a dream. He saw the realization in my eyes and spoke softly. It's been a long time, Grace. I barely whispered. You were there, at the courthouse, years ago. He nodded. I promised your father I'd look out for you. My knees buckled. I had to grab the table to stay upright. My father, dead for years, gone before he could tell me anything. Gone before he could explain why his last words to me were, if anything ever feels wrong, find the man with a scar. And there it was, a thin, faint scar along the stranger's jaw. Not threatening, but undeniable. I stared at him, breathless. Why now? I whispered. Why after all these years? His voice dropped into something grave. Because the people your husband stole from are the same people your father died trying to expose. My breath left my body in one broken exhale, and he added, gently but firmly, you're not running from your husband's mistakes, Grace. You're running from your father's enemies. I sank to the floor, my back pressed against the wall, my mind racing so fast I couldn't form coherent thoughts. My father's enemies. Ethan's lies. Harper. The hotel. Everything collided into one jagged, sharp-edged truth. You're saying, I whispered, my voice trembling, that my husband, that Harper, that everything tonight, it wasn't just about cheating? The man nodded, his eyes serious, unwavering. Correct. This night was meant to manipulate you, Grace. Distract you. Get you out of the way while they tried to reach him. And if you hadn't been careful, if I hadn't intervened, I swallowed hard, the bile rising in my throat. I could have been
dead, he finished.
My entire body went cold. I hugged my knees, rocking slightly, trying to contain the tremors. I couldn't even process the betrayal anymore. My heart and mind had leaped to survival mode. But my husband, I stammered, still struggling to piece it together. He knew. The man shook his head.
No.
He thought using your name would keep you safe. Ironically, it almost destroyed you instead. He didn't know the full extent of what he'd gotten involved in. But he's in more danger now than ever. And Harper. I shut my eyes. I didn't want to hear. I didn't want to imagine my best friend as more than just a friend.
But I had to.
Harper, I whispered. She was part of the cover-up, he said. Not maliciously at first. She thought she was helping him avoid suspicion. She didn't know you'd find out tonight. But yes, she played a role in the trap. I felt like the floor had been ripped from under me. Betrayal upon betrayal. Deceit layered like a poison. And somewhere, deep in my chest, a fire started to ignite. This, I whispered, my voice low and dangerous. This can't end like this. The man gave me a long look. His eyes softened slightly. It won't. But you have to be smart. You have to stay 2 steps ahead, Grace. They won't hesitate. And your husband. I clenched my fists. Ethan isn't just my husband anymore. He's part of this mess, whether he knows it or not. And I have to save him, even if he doesn't deserve it. Exactly, the man said. He stepped closer, lowering his voice further. And that's where I come in. You won't survive this alone. Not against them. I inhaled sharply, my pulse hammering. And if I fail? Then they win, he said flatly. But I won't let that happen. Not if you're willing to fight. I nodded slowly, determination starting to rise through the fear. My fingers dug into my knees as I pushed myself off the floor. I couldn't stay there, trembling and helpless. I had to act. Where do we start? I asked, voice shaking but steadying. He handed me a small envelope. My name was written on it in neat, familiar handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were pictures, documents, and notes, proof. Evidence of Ethan's hidden accounts, the people he had stolen from, the network of danger I'd only begun to glimpse tonight. This is everything, he said. Memorize it. Learn it. Protect it. Because the people after him, they'll come for you next if they think you have it. And Grace, I looked up, meeting his eyes. They won't stop until they're sure he's gone. Or you are. I swallowed, my chest tight. This was no longer just about betrayal, heartbreak, or even revenge. This was life or death. My entire world had shifted in a single night, and somehow I was at the center of it. A deep, slow breath filled my lungs. My tears had dried, replaced by a sharp clarity, a rising pulse of anger, fear, and determination. I'm ready, I whispered. Tell me what to do. The man nodded once. First, we disappear for a few hours. Lay low. Then, he paused, letting the weight of what he was about to say sink in. Then we start the plan. The plan to take back control and to save your husband before it's too late. I clenched my fists tighter. My mind raced with strategies, fears, and impossible choices. But for the first time that night, I felt a spark. Not hope, not safety, but power. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a player, and I wasn't going to let them win. We moved through Houston like ghosts, slipping down side streets, ducking under shadows, avoiding anyone who might recognize us. My hands shook the entire time, not just from fear, but from the adrenaline that had been building since the hotel. The envelope in my bag felt heavier than it should, but somehow, holding it made me feel ready. The man, my father's old associate, the one who had promised to protect me years ago, kept his voice low, guiding me, keeping me focused. Every corner we turned, every alley we passed, reminded me that danger wasn't just abstract anymore. It was real. Hours passed. We stopped in an abandoned warehouse at the edge of the city. He set up a small space, laid out maps, notes, and the evidence Ethan had inadvertently left behind. My heart raced as I scanned it all. Every transaction, every secret meeting, every hidden account. It painted a picture far more dangerous than I could have imagined. And yet, in the center of it all was Ethan. My husband. My betrayer. My target. I wanted to scream.
To punch something.
To rip apart every piece of paper in front of me. Instead, I forced myself to breathe, to focus. "You'll have to be smart," the man said, his eyes locking on mine. "Ethan doesn't know who's after him. But time is running out. They'll strike tonight, and if they find him, or you unprotected, there's no coming back." I swallowed hard, fighting the wave of panic. My mind replayed the hotel, Harper, every lie, every betrayal. My chest burned, but under that pain, a cold determination settled in. "I need to save him," I said, voice steady. "Even after what he did. Even after Harper." He nodded.
Good.
"That fire will keep you alive. But remember, he's a man in the dark. He's scared, but he's dangerous too. Don't let your emotions make you reckless." I closed my eyes. I could hear the city outside, the distant hum of traffic, the faint echo of sirens. It all felt surreal. My life, my choices, my mistakes, every betrayal, it had led me here. And yet, for the first time that night, I felt something solid beneath my fear. Power. Purpose. Agency. We spent the next hour planning. Routes, signals, contingencies. I memorized each detail, each name, each location. The weight of the envelope, the evidence, and the knowledge of what Ethan had done pressed on me. But it didn't break me. Not anymore. Finally, the man looked at me. "It's time." I nodded. My hands were steady now, even though my heart still raced. I stepped into the darkness with him at my side, every nerve alert, every instinct screaming at me to move, to survive, to fight. When we reached the safe house where Ethan had been hiding, unknowingly vulnerable, I froze. He looked up at me with confusion, fear, and guilt written across his face. "Grace," he whispered. I didn't answer immediately. I just stared. My jaw tightened. My hands shook, but not from fear. From something sharper, resolve. "You're in danger," I said finally, "because of what you've done, and because of who you've involved. But I'm not letting them hurt you. Not tonight. Not ever." Ethan's face went pale. He opened his mouth to speak, but I silenced him with a sharp gesture. "No words."
Not now.
"We have work to do." For the next tense, electric hours, we moved through Houston's night, staying one step ahead of the people hunting him. Every corner brought fear, every shadow suspicion. But with each step, I felt more alive than I had in months. Betrayal had made me hurt, but it had also made me strong. It had given me clarity. By dawn, Ethan and I were alive. Harper? I never wanted to see her again. Her betrayal had burned too deeply to forgive. But I realized something crucial. I didn't need her, and I didn't need him. To survive, I only needed myself. The man who had saved me watched me as the sun rose over Houston's skyline. "You did well," he said quietly. I let the words wash over me. I was bruised. I was broken. But I was still standing. I looked at Ethan, and for the first time, I didn't feel love. I didn't feel pity. I felt a strange, icy resolve. "You're responsible for your own survival from now on," I said. He nodded, shame written into every line of his face. I turned away, walking toward the rising sun, toward the city that had nearly swallowed me, toward the life I was about to rebuild. I was Grace Cole. Betrayed, yes. Deceived, yes. But alive. Powerful. And in control. And tonight, I decided I would never let anyone else write my story again. And that's the story of Grace Cole, a woman betrayed, hunted, and tested beyond her limits, who found strength she never knew she had. Betrayal can break you, or it can ignite the fire to take control of your own life. If this story left you on the edge of your seat, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a tale of suspense, drama, and empowerment. Remember, no matter how dark the night, your courage can light the way.
If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen play out?